math teacher, I probably would have gotten better grades. Please welcome Edward James Olmos.
Wow. We made it, guys. Our first convention here. It's amazing. I'm glad I'm on the maiden voyage.
So, I think I'm just going to open it up to questions right away because that's what, I can just see them bouncing up and down in their seats. They've got questions.
All I can tell you is just step right up and grab a mic.
Well, actually, look for this man in the white shirt, and he will have a mic.
Actually, you can step right there, son. Just go right there and ask any question you'd like, and then he'll be second. If you want to try, raise your hand. Let me see. Anybody else want to talk? Ask questions? 3. Anybody else?
I guess it is on.
4. Remember your number. Remember your number. 4, 5.
You didn't know you'd be tested today, huh?
5. Do I hear 6? Anybody else want to ask a question? Okay, we'll take those 5. Okay, that order. Oh well, I got Don Johnson.
They
wants to go through it too. So actually, you're going to be number 3, Don, and then everybody moves back 1.
So we'll start over here, and then I guess.
No, we'll go here.
So here
1, 2, 3,
oh, okay.
and then 4, 5, 6.
All right. Okay. You got it down.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. My name's Lee Shannon. A big fan. Favorite movie, Stand and Deliver. I actually love the reimagined Battlestar Galactica. I've been a fan. I'm old enough to remember the first one and also the reimagining. And one of my question is, I'm also in the military, and while Battlestar Galactica was getting filmed the second time, we were fighting in Iraq and we were fighting in Afghanistan, and some of the themes in Battlestar Galactica were related to some of the things we were experiencing. As far as and when you look civilian control over the military, suicide bombers, things like this. I'm just wondering, while you were filming that, how much of that was a discussion? How much of that, as you as the actors and you as the cast were involved, and how much feedback related to that situation? And did you feel any responsibility while you were filming it to portray that?
First of all, to you and to all the military that's in the room, whether you're retired or you're in full force right now, may you know that God bless you guys, and thank you guys so much. All the women and men in uniform and your families, thank you so much for everything you've done for all of us. I was a child of the Vietnam War, so I didn't go in, but I was drafted, and when they saw my physicalness, I was thrown out. I had 2 very, very shattered knees, and they did not want to even begin to try to operate on them. And it saved my life because all my friends who did go in, it was a very difficult war. War is very difficult. I don't care when it happens. But you asked a question, a very, very strong question. Battlestar Galactica, by far, is probably the most extraordinary usage of television I've ever seen. It's by far the best TV that I've ever been a part of in my lifetime. And I've done things like Miami Vice and Hill Street Blues and Hawaii Five-0, the old one. In 1977 was the last time I was here, and I'll tell you about that story if you guys want to hear about that one. But that was the last time I was here in Hawaii, in the Big Island, and it's been a long time, and I'm very proud to be back. I just want to thank you guys for inviting me and for me being here. Now, as far as the question is concerned, yeah, we knew that we had touched the nerve. You got to remember, this story was reimagined and was put to, actually, we actually started recording it and documenting it 13 months after 9/11. So it was really, really, really radical. All of us were in a different state of mind. And so when we did the miniseries, it was brutal. And the reason I did it is because of the writing. You got to remember, this was not a fluke. Ron Moore is a genius, a strong one. And he wrote the reimagination, and he knew what he was doing, and he got his writing staff and he tuned them up, and they were the ones who pushed us there. We clarified moments. We would push moments stronger and harder and into the direction that they wanted to go. So we did do things, but the script was always first, and the writers were always those that really created the world we lived in. And then we took it to a level of understanding that really elevated the piece in production, and the directing, the cameras, the everything, and the acting and everything elevated the story to clarity. But the real jump, the real big jump was in the post-production, when the post-producer, the editor, and the special effects and music, you know, Bear McCreary and these guys got together, and they pushed it to a really high level. So yeah, we were in tune. Now you got to remember, this was just at the time when blogging was started, 2003, 2004. And you got to remember that up until that time, we really never communicated as a world. You know, where China and kids in South America and kids in Russia or kids in Yugoslavia or in Africa would be connected by the internet and blogging to one another. So what happened is that we elevated the story to a very high level, and by the time post-production got done with the story about what we were doing in the world, the people around us, all the people who saw it, commented on it. And those blogs were then visited by the writers. And the people themselves elevated the piece and started to say, do you know that this and this and this, what this means? And this is what I got out of that. And by you guys doing what you did with waterboarding, do you know that it just made me understand? And all of a sudden, the thing just got elevated. And of course, the writers, oh yeah, that's exactly what we meant. They took credit for everything. and they pushed it. They went there and then took it even further. So we went there, but it was all of us had an insight into that show. That thing hit hard. I'm not kidding you. It was deadly. To this day, more people are watching it today than watched it when we finished it. And it's because people, one, they're seeing it more than once. Most of us in here probably seen it more than once. But basically, we've lived that story, and we continue to live that story. So yeah, the things that we were looking at, the things that you were experiencing, the things that when you sat down and started to watch this, it threw you into an understanding of who and what we were and what was going on. I mean, the genius of Ron Moore. I mean, when we got up and one day and he says, the gods be with you. Human beings were saying gods, and the Cylons were saying God. People go, what? You know, they were like throwing a curveball. He was constantly testing the clarity of who we were. The whole scene with the right to choose, right to life, which took us to the UN. Did any of you see the UN, Battlestar at the UN? If you haven't, if you have not seen this, go online. There's never been a television show that's ever been invited to the United Nations and spoke in front of the entire United Nations. And we went there and we talked about, incredible amounts of things, but basically 5 basic fundamental things. And one of them was, right to choose, right to life. Another one was children in war. Another thing was terrorism. Another thing was waterboarding. And the key to the whole thing was, God, Alex, what is it? Where are you, Alex? I'm trying to remember, and I can't remember right now. The key to the whole thing was, do you remember the word? Reconciliation. The key ingredient to the entire piece that we were doing was reconciliation. Cylons annihilated us, left us with 49,000 people. That was it. Human beings, 49,000. Cylons, millions. Worlds destroyed. Nuclear holocaust, it was over. They had annihilated humanity. Billions and billions and billions of people were gone. And all that we left was this ragtag little fleet, and it was off with 49,000 people. Reconciliation, to us to reconcile with the Cylon in order for us to survive at the very end of this whole story and for them to be able to survive because we had annihilated their ability to reproduce themselves. And it became a real honest look at what we were living. And a lot of people found it hard, you know, especially commanding officers. Commanding officers found our show extremely, extremely hard because we held a mirror. I did personally because it wasn't written that I was a drug addict and I became a babbling, crying idiot on the ground, hoveling in a drunken stew and completely blown away because my best friend was a Cylon. And I had given the lives of all of my people and had the responsibility of all these kids that I sent to war and they never came back. And you know, and then I had to get up and still find my way back and fly the Galactica right into the side of their ship and win the war. We won. We preserved humanity. We ended up landing on Earth, and here we are because of Galactica. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. I really appreciate it, and I will say that you know your portrayal of a senior officer in the military was something that I think that the junior kids today could actually learn about. I remember when I was in my officer training, we watched the movie Glory, and we talked about this. These are the ideals that an officer should have, who's in command of other troops. You know, and I can see a scenario where junior officers might actually look to Battlestar Galactica and get ideas about leadership, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and how much all your decisions actually cost. So thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you again for your service to our country.
Thanks for being here. It's awesome having you
It's
here.
my pleasure.
And on a light note, since that was pretty deep, if I promise to never talk about Battlestar, will you go have a beer with us after?
Yes.
Awesome.
But I'll end up getting, you know, I don't drink beer, so I'll end up getting to the point where I'll find myself on the floor going, yeah, I like Battlestar. It was great.
Anyway, you know what? I've seen Battlestar about 5 or 6 times. I've actually sat through the whole thing 5 or 6 times. It was amazing. But, you know, a lot of shows these days run real long seasons. You're talking about 7, 8, 9 seasons before they get canceled. Battlestar ran 4. Do you ever feel like there was any need for the story to go on, or do you feel like it was complete? Was there anything that you wanted more to see with the show?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I basically felt really that it could have gone on for 20 years. But the writing was so strong and it was so difficult to keep it going that Rod Moore himself said, I can't do this anymore. I have to have an ending at the very height of the show. And it was, we went like this, and we just kept on going, and it kept on growing and growing, and it became stronger and stronger. And at the very height of what we were at in the 4th season, going into the 4.5 season, he just said, this is it. And we all went, oh. And we, like you, could not believe. All those scenes that we did where we're all saying goodbye to each other, and we're all crying, and we're all, I mean, the scene where Rosalind dies, really hard to take. I mean, we did that at 3 o'clock in the morning, just her and I, sitting and she could not, when we were done, she couldn't take it because we had to do it about 3 or 4 takes because a tear would fall, boom, right on her hand as I was putting the ring on her hand. And she couldn't take it, so she would start to tremble and start to move and start to cry herself. And she goes, I'm sorry, cut. And, you know, and I'm going, oh, Jesus. Die, please die. I can't go through this anymore. And so we finally made it, but when we made it, we got to the very end, and as we finished the scene and we held it cut, and that was the last scene she did. That was it. And it was and she got up from the Raptor and she walked out, and her son caught her as she completely crumbled to the ground. She collapsed. And he grabbed her, and then people rushed around her to pick her up, and she was in heaving sobs. She couldn't take it. It was too real for all of us. If it was real for you, you can only imagine what happens when you really do that kind of work. You know, people have to realize that our work is based on not acting. It's based on being. That's what really drove you to continue to watch the show. Everybody was being. So the situations became what we were living. As far as I'm concerned, I went through that. You know, I came out an older guy, a lot wiser, but a really completely destroyed human being in many ways, and had to reconstitute myself. And people say, well, it's just your job. All right, try it. Just try it. Try to know that you just lost, you know, your daughter. You know, for those of you that have lost your daughter or children, you know you could never, the chain is broken, and once that chain is broken, you're never ever gonna be the same, ever. You know, all I could ever say is, may you bury your father and mother, and may your children bury you, and may their children bury them, and may that chain never be broken. Because the day that that's broken, you are gonna collapse, and you're not gonna be able to understand life. I did a movie like that called Selena. It was very difficult to do. Very, very difficult. Hardest film. So there you go. Question. Here he is, man. I can't believe, I thought I left you behind somewhere, man. I'm so glad you're here. I haven't seen you in 30 years. He's cool, man. Look at him. God, he set a tone, man. Go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Olmos. Welcome to Hawaii. Aloha.
Aloha.
I'd like to talk about another phenomenal show you've been on, Miami Vice. The show you was on there, I wanted to know why was the character you played, Lieutenant Martin Castillo, why was he so little bit with words? And also, what was your most memorable part or series of all of it that you was on?
I think the most memorable understanding of that show for me was the first day, the very first day when I came to work. It was a very difficult show to be on. Don and Philip were megastars by the time they were done with the second episode. And no one had seen them yet. They were already there. And they were just so strong in what they were doing, and they knew it. I knew Don since 1969, 68, 69, when he did Fortune in Men's Eyes at the ACT in San Francisco. Brilliant actor, young man at that time. He had been 16, 17 at that time. And he was a brilliant actor. And he did A Boy with His Dog and a bunch of Herod Experiment. He did a bunch of great films when he was a little kid. I mean, 20, 21, 23. And I knew him well. In the 70s, we had worked together on, and he was the star of a lot of the police cop shows that we were working on at that time, and police stories. And so by the time, and Philip Michael Thomas, I had worked with him in 1972, 71, 72. And so we knew each other from work, but we had never worked like this. And I got asked to participate in Miami Vice. And I was asked to come in, and I told Michael, man, when he called me up, I can't do this. I can't go work for you on Miami Vice. He goes, I really need your help, Eddie. I didn't know who he was. I'd seen Thief. I'd seen that movie, and I loved his movies. And that one was his first and biggest movie. And, you know, so I said, Michael, it's a real honor to talk to you. Thank you for inviting me to be on your show. But I can't do it. And he goes, well, I really, you know, would love to have you on board. By this time of the year was 1984, so I had already done Wolfen, I'd already done a Blade Runner, I'd already done Zoot Suit, I'd already done the Ballad of Gregorio Cortez. I had really done work, and of course, the most important piece of work that I'd done was El Pachuco and Zoot Suit, and that was in 1978. So I had already forged a relationship with the art form that was strictly my own. I had developed characters that had never been seen before, and my art was really growing, and I really appreciated the chance of exploring all the years and years and years of work that I had tried to understand. And so I hit with a tremendous amount of strength and power. And so when they called me, I was working. I had my own films that I was trying to make, and I still was. One of them was Stand and Deliver. This was 1984, you know, and I was trying to do that. That thing happened in 1983. that's when that story broke, and I got the rights to do that story in the end of 1983, going into 1984. So when he called me, I was trying to make that little movie. And I had just finished the Ballad of Gregorio Cortez and was walking around with the canisters in my hand, showing it for free all over the country. And doing this really work that nobody wanted to do. Nobody wanted to make Stand and Deliver. Nobody wanted to make the Ballad of Gregorio Cortez. Nobody wanted to make Mi Familia. Nobody wanted to make American Me. It took me 18 years to make that movie. These are things that people go, what? 18, did he just say 18 years? What? It took me 5 years to do Stand and Deliver. So when Michael called me to be on Miami Vice, I had said no to Stephen Bochco to be on Hill Street Blues and NYPD Blue. Both those shows wanted me as a regular. And I said, geez, I really can't. I did work with them. I went there and I did a recurring role for 2 or 3 shows, but I could not sign an exclusive contract. So I told Michael, man, I said, I can't sign an exclusive contract. And I have creative control of my characters, or else I wouldn't be working the kind of work that I'm doing. So, and then I know that you guys got something going over there. I can tell. And so there you go. You guys got your thing. Go for it. I won't be able to help you. And I hung up the phone. Well, 10 minutes later, he called back and he doubled the price. And I said, wow, it was more. He was offering me more money than my father had made in 45 years of working his entire life. Think about it. They were offering me in 20 episodes to make more money than my father had made his entire life. I said, thank you very much, Michael, but I can't. And I hung up the phone. And he calls back 10 minutes later, he raises the price. By this time, I'm going, Jesus, if only I knew that all I had to say is no, and they'd start raising the price. So I would have done this a long time ago. I had no idea. I said, Michael, what are you going to be doing next year? This is 1984. He says, in 1985, what are you going to be doing next year? He says, well, I'm going to be doing Manhunter. I'm working on that. That was Hannibal Lecter's first movie. That was what brought out that whole world of the Lecter world, And so he says, I got this movie I got to do. Okay, so you're going to go off and do your movie, and I'm going to be stuck doing Miami Vice. And I hadn't even read a script yet. I hadn't even seen an episode. But just the title told me, wow, I don't know if I really want to do this. It's like when they offered me Battlestar. I don't know if I really want to do this. Because I have things that I need to do, things that won't be done unless we do it. Yeah. Do you know that out of 80% of all the films that have been made about the Latino culture in the United States of America, I've been in those. I've either produced them or starred in them or acted in them or been in them. If I hadn't done that, I'm telling you, we wouldn't have much of a Latino world on screen, okay? And it's really difficult. It's really difficult because people don't get that. They just think, about the money. They think about the fame, the fortune, And I just finished jumping all over Jennifer Lopez. I finally just said one day at a radio show, and please don't redo. Anybody take any photographs or anything like that right now? Turn it off. Don't get this and do it again and put it on the air. Turn off your head camera. I see the little red light. It's on. Is it on? Yeah, I think it is.
That one's on.
No, I thought it isn't. It's cool. But basically, I told her, and Amanda, I said, you're the only one that can do a hero, Latina hero role and get it done. Do one before you die. Just one. What is it going to take, man? And she's doing nothing but great films. She's doing great films. I'm very proud of her. She's making hundreds of millions of dollars. She's working very hard. I love her for that. And she goes, well, I give a lot, Ed. You don't even, I know I don't. I'm not talking about your philanthropy. I'm not talking about your great, things that you've done for the community and the children's hospitals and all that. That, I do that too. But guess what? You have to take your strength and use it. I said, and I don't know anybody that can do Lolita Lebron story. I tried to do it for 6 years. A great story about a Puerto Rican woman that is just phenomenal. A great story. She was in prison for 27 years. She was the one who shot up the Congress. They went at, you guys don't even know that story. You know, there's 3 Puerto Rican people that walked into Congress, pulled out guns and started shooting Congress to free Puerto Rico. Enough. We don't want to be a part of the United States. We want our own independent country. And of course, they all went to prison. But the story is phenomenal. It's incredible. So no one can do that story. She could, if she wanted to. She may have to put up her own money.
She has some of that, right?
Ooh, she could make about 4 of those easily without, you know, too much going. You know, she wouldn't lose too much of her interest. But basically, that's what I mean. It's that kind of a situation. And so when Michael Mann calls me up and says, Ed, come on, do this, and I'm saying, okay, well, listen, you know, I wish I could, but I can't. I said, first of all, I need creative control. I already told you that. And second of all, I can't sign an exclusive contract with NBC for 7 years. I can't do that. To be tied up doing Miami Vice for 7 years would drive me, I'd stop everything. What are you talking about? I can't do it. So finally I hung up, and 10 minutes later, he calls up. He says, you got it. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you got, you know, non-exclusive contract. You just have to tell me 60 days in advance when you want to go do something, and we'll ride around you, and then you come back. I said, whoa. And he says, and you have creative control of your character. Oh, checkmate. And I said to him, and I'll take the last offer that you made in the money. Thank you very much. So this is just the beginning of the story. All right, so now I go. I got to be in front of camera at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's now 10 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting at the airport, LAX, getting ready to take the red eye in because I'm in front of camera at 8 o'clock in the morning. I arrive in Miami at 5:30, 5:45 Miami time. I arrive there, and on the red eye, and I get off, and I'm blown away. I've been on the plane just thinking about my character, you know, and trying to develop this character that I'm going to step on stage and present the character. And just 7 hours ago, 8 hours ago, I didn't even know I was going to be doing this. And so I went thinking, I'm going to, you know, and that's when I took the biggest leap of faith I've ever had in my life, and just put all the years and years and years of the discipline of doing what I love to do when I didn't feel like doing it. Key ingredient to any artist that's sitting out there that wants to be an actor or wants to be anything in life. Discipline yourself to do the things you love to do when you don't feel like doing it, especially if you love it. Do it when you don't feel like doing it, and you just shoot to the moon. It's beautiful. So I get off the airplane, and, you know, first scene I do is with Philip Michael Thomas. And remember, I got creative control, okay? And I know it. And so I'm sitting and I'm reading the script, and I'm saying, Jesus. And if you look at the very first episode, and I'm sure a lot of you will go back, that I come out in, which was episode 4 of the Miami Vice, the first 3, and Gregory Sierra didn't want to be on the show anymore, and said, please, shoot me. I got to get off of here. And he had a lot of trouble with his family. It was really bad. His child was very sick, and he had to get off the show. So I'm there, and I'm at the very first scene, and the scene was me and Crockett I was standing at the side of a river, and a young woman is in the water, half in and half out, with the bullet wounds at the back of the head, and he's standing there looking at her, and I'm about 15 feet away, and you know, I've just become the detective, the head of the lieutenant. You see me in this episode walk in with a flower in a box into the scene, and everybody's going, who's this? You know, and looking at me. So this is later on in the show, and I'm standing at the side there, and Tubbs comes up to me, and he gets really close to me, and he says, this was Crockett's girlfriend in high school, and he's not doing too well. And then I'm supposed to say something back to him, but I turn, and he's real close to me. He's like this, and I turn to him, and I look at him, and I say, don't ever come up into my face like this again. And he goes, That's not the script. We're on camera. It's rolling. And he's like, he is, Tubbs. He's the star now for 3 episodes, and he's like, he's got his shit together. They both do. So bingo, and so Crockett sees this, and he comes by and he grabs him as Philip's character Tubbs just it's like getting angry because that's not the script, and he's right in the middle of the scene. What's he gonna do? And so they grab him and pull him away, and the director goes, "That was really good. Let's get on the next shot. That'll work for me." I said, "Works for me too." And and so boom, we kept on going. Right. The next scene is at the OCB with Don, and Don walks in and gives me an envelope in my office. And as he hands me the envelope in my office, he says, this is the I don't know, Camarino, I think, or some family of drug dealers from Colombia, and this is their MO. They shot his ex-girlfriend in high school in the back of the head 5 times with a .25 caliber. That's their mode. That's their MO, method of operation, modus operandi. And so he does it. So we're rehearsing the scene, and I say some stuff to him, and then we're rehearsing the scene. And I shut the door to my office, and the director says, "Okay, action." And before Don starts the scene, he opens the door, and then he steps back and he walks in. And we do the scene, and then he said, "Cut." Okay, that's looking pretty good. All right. And then let's do one more rehearsal for the crew. Crew, come on in. All the crew comes in. I shut the door. And all of a sudden they go, "Action." He opens the door. Then he goes back outside, and then he walks right in. And he says, "Okay, that works for me. It works for everybody. Okay." And so we go, "Okay, here we go. We're going to go shoot it now. Everybody quiet on the set, please." And I shut the door. And Don says, Ed, don't do that." And it's my first time working with him. You know what I did to Philip. It was first time. This is my first time working with Don. The very first scene, and and he says, "No, all the doors are open, Ed. We don't even use doors. Just," I said, Don, wait a minute, stop. I'm sorry. Let me understand this. I just got here. I don't know anybody in this place. I'm the lieutenant, and I got to command this place. I want the door shut." "Oh, Ed, come on. Don't open those can of worms with me." I said, "Don, what are you saying? Don, hello, Don. Don, please shut the door. Just knock on the door and open it. I mean, this is not going to be a room that you can walk into. I'm the lieutenant. It's my office. I don't know who you are. I don't know any of these people. Please shut the door." He goes, "Oh, okay, all right." And he walks off the stage. 2 hours, 3 hours, nothing. I said, "Holy crap." And of course, the crew, they're gone, man. Everybody's ooh-doo-doo. And they know the shit's going to hit the fan. And they ended up, he ended up, the producer comes about 3 hours later, 4 hours later, and says, "What's going on?" I go, "What do you mean, what's going on? I don't know. Please shut the door." That's all I told the guy. And he says, "I'm sorry, let me go talk to him." They go in, and he's gone for another 45 minutes. And finally comes back in, and Nicolella says, John Nicolella, who's the producer, says, "Okay, he's coming in. We're going to get it together. Okay, thank you very much." And so I shut the door. And then they holler, and to get everybody in there, now the tension, you could cut it with a knife. Everybody's like going, "Holy crap, let's see what this scene's going to look like." Whoa. And so he comes in, he's got action. And I hadn't seen him. Now, no one's seen Don since he left the stage. And so he comes in, and he on the door and pushes it open, and it slams against all the drawers of those big iron drawers that they have there, Yeah. And he slams it, and the Venetian blinds, those real ugly little old ones in the 70s and 80s, goes bang, and that makes a terrible noise. And he walks in and he throws the thing on the table, and it slides across the table. And I'm sitting there, and he's standing right here. And as I grab the paper, I just said, I look at it, and I just look up at him real quick, and I look down, and I say, and then he says his lines, really angry. He says his lines. And I just look at him, and I just say, all right, I'll check this out. And he leaves, and that's it. Cut. That's it. I'm not going to do it again. From that moment, for 1 year, I never looked at his eyes again. Every scene I ever did with Philip and Don, you can go back and take a look at it, I never, ever looked at them eye to eye. When they were talking to me, this is what I was doing. Against the wall. Listening, I would always be listening. And then they'd finish talking, and I'd go, thinking. Quiet as can be, thinking. And book them. And that was it. And the directors would go, well, can you choose another wall, Ed, because that one doesn't fly. I go, what are you talking about? It doesn't fly. I can't move it. I said, good. They go, no, well, how? We got to get you. I said, no, you don't. Just get the back of my head. Okay. So you go back and you start watching Miami Vice. People hated me because the stars of the show were Don and Philip and Crockett and Tubbs. And here all of a sudden they had this nemesis of the lieutenant who was supposed to be on their side, was like, it's exactly what I just finished doing to S.H.I.E.L.D. I did the same thing to Coulson. I laid him out. Boom! You're the worst, Coulson. I'm the real S.H.I.E.L.D. But it gives substance to the scenes. It gives substance. They have something to work against. And our heroes are real heroes now because they're not just being able to dismiss. You know, when I saw the episodes, I saw that Crockett and Tubbs were doing exactly what Starsky and Hutch were doing. They had done the same thing. They would go talk to people, and they would dismiss the people they were talking to by just looking at each other. You know, we're in the scene, and you see them looking at somebody, and it's either the chief of police, or it's the mayor of the city, or it's the FBI, the CIA, and then they'll be looking at them, and then they'll look at each other, you know, and they'll give each other that little look, and the audience sees it, and then they come back and oh, yes, don't worry, yes, sir. And we know, oh, they're going to do something on their own. Oh, they got it covered. Well, in Miami Vice, they couldn't do that because I never looked at them. So they had to find another way of telling the audience that they could handle what they were going to handle, and they were going to be not this, you know, they could dismiss the world. I refused to allow them to dismiss me. And literally, I never looked at them in the face. And if you've ever talked to anybody that doesn't look at you in the eye, you really don't like that person. You don't like them. I mean, you know, try it sometime. Try just sitting around going like this when people are talking to you. And, you know, they're going to get, what's your problem? What's your issue? I had issues. I had bad issues. And if you watched Miami Vice, you learned what those issues were. When I went over there, I was a mess. I'd just come from Vietnam. I was in the DEA. I was in the Golden Triangle. You learn that later on in the story, you know, as the episodes occur. But I was a ninja samurai warrior. I was. I was bad. It's a bad guy. But they didn't know who I was. They didn't know anything about me. And then pretty soon you go, whoa, did you see what Castillo just did? He kicked that guy right in the face. Ooh, that was bad. So anyway, that's memorable moments. You got the best one. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, you were in one episode of Starsky and Hutch. I do remember.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was in one. That's where I learned that behavior, and I go, these guys, I mean, they know, they're the stars. Everybody in the world knows they're the stars of a television show. There's no reality here. It was really difficult. But I think Miami Vice really worked because of that friction and that tension that was between the three of us. And I used to get hate mail. Yeah, they didn't like me until it took about 2 seasons. By the second season, I became, oh my God, Castillo, we love you. Then when they saw me in the beach scene where I'm swimming with my spandex Speedos, remember that one? The girls loved it. So the guys.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Welcome to sci-fi conventions.
Do you have a question?
Yes. Throughout Battlestar, I think I was more stressed out over the relationship between the Admiral and Lee than I was of the actual Cylons. So I was just wondering what your opinion on their relationship was.
Between the Admiral and who?
Lee.
Oh, my son, are you kidding? Jesus. Do you remember the very first scene? When I haven't seen him, we couldn't even stand next to each other. It was incredibly difficult. He's a great actor. You know, Jamie Bamber is a great actor. I called him today. I was really crying today. He's moving to France, him and his entire family, and I'm the godfather of his children. And so it's going to be a wild, you know, we're going to see each other still, and we can talk to each other on the phone and stuff and everything, but he's not going to be, you know, 7 minutes away from my house anymore. And they've lived there for many, many years. The full time that we've been off the show, Bambers and Calluses, you know, Baltar, we live about 4 minutes away from each other. And Jamie lived about another 2 miles down, and we all lived in the same area, so we were always together. And of course, Truco, you know, Anders, Michael, he lives right there with us in that area. And we all live, we're all still very tight and very close, all of us. Matter of fact, tonight I'm seeing Grace Park. Boomer? Yeah, I'm gonna go to dinner with Boomer. Am I the lucky guy? I get to go out with the Cylon. So, okay, back to your question. It was terrible. I mean, that was really hard to do. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had a conflict between yourself and your father or your mother, but it gets to be really difficult for the child. And it was really my problem. It wasn't his so much. I made it his problem, but it was really my problem. And you don't know that at the beginning. And it was induced by Starbuck. And man, when she tells me that she's the reason that my son is dead, do you remember that? Oh, there's a lot of spoilers going on here. Sorry, guys. You came to the wrong place. It's the wrong convention. I love you too, man. Okay. Anyway, to tell you the truth, it became very honest. And if you noticed, I had blue eyes. Remember? And he had blue eyes. I had dark hair, so he did his hair dark. We had a choice, and he chose to paint his hair dark, like mine, and I had to put on contact lenses to keep so that we looked like something of relationship. Yeah, right, he's got blue eyes, she's got blue eyes. She got dark hair, he got dark hair. That's about it, okay? He was so handsome, it was ridiculous. But he had a beautiful mother, you know? Remember that song, Your Daddy's Rich and Your Mother's Good Looking? That's what I used to sing to him. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi. So to go in the same direction as family, how did Bodhi get involved with Battlestar?
Bodhi happens to be my real son. He played Hot Dog. Remember Hot Dog? He's the only one that made it, the only pilot, the only young pilot that made it to the very end. Everybody else passed away. And anyway, he got on the show by way of, you know, he's got a master's degree in theater arts. He graduated from UCLA, then went on to Meisner and graduated from Meisner's Academy, and then, so he's a very well-trained artist. And right now, he's just got into an incredible amount of work as a triathlete. And he's one of the top, he's in the top 1% in the world right now in his work as a triathlete. and he's a coach. So he's not really acting as much now as he was, say, 10 years ago when he was working with us. But he got it on his own. He just went up and they turned him into, went out for an interview, did an audition and got the audition. That's the only way. You can help people get in the door, but once they're in the door, it's up to them to get the job, man. You can't hold their hand and say, hire them. We had a producer, I won't even mention names, but a producer that wanted me to use his wife. And I said, great, let's audition her. And he goes, oh, sure, okay. I said, all right. So we put her on tape, and I said, you want to see the tape? And he goes, yeah. I go, okay. And he saw the tape, and he saw everybody else, and he said, oh, yeah, I see that this person's a little bit more inside of what we're doing than. I said, yeah, we can do what you want to do because you're the producer, but, if you really want to hold true to the integrity of the show, go with the finest artist that really can give us what we need right now and not play favorites. So basically, Bodhi had to go through it, and he did a great job. Bodhi did a great job. He was very at ease with himself. He did Stand and Deliver. He played my youngest son in Stand and Deliver. He played me in a couple of different shows because he had to, because I needed somebody to play me when I was 18. And it was perfect. He was 18, he looked like me, play me, come on, let's go. So, he filled some shoes. And we did a movie called Walkout, which I directed. And he played one of the starring roles in that too, which we needed at that time, that kind of an actor, and he fulfilled the role. And basically, he's done a lot of great work. He did extraordinary work. We've done it together. So that's how he got the job. He went out and rehearsed and tried for it. Thank you.
I've been a huge fan of yours for a while, but the first movie I remember watching was Stand and Deliver. I'm a teacher here in Hawaii, so I was just wondering, when you were making that movie, did you realize the huge impact you would be making in the educational world?
All we were hoping when I made that film, remember I told you, can you imagine if I had signed an exclusive contract with Miami Vice? I would not have been able to do Stand and Deliver, Fortunate Pilgrim with Sophia Loren and myself. I starred opposite Sophia Loren in a Mario Puzo book that he wrote about his family. We did Triumph of the Spirit. What a mistake that would have been had I signed an exclusive contract. There would have been so many films I would not have been able to be in. And I still never lost a day over there. I mean, they could shoot around me, and then when I'd come back in, we'd shoot the scenes that we had to shoot with me, and it would be very simple. It didn't take much, but I was very grateful that they did that with me. And so in respects of what you're asking, what was the question?
Did you know the impact? Okay, I'll let you repeat it.
Yeah, when you were making Stand and Deliver, did you realize the impact you would be making in the educational world?
Oh, yeah. No, all we try to do is just stay true to his story. That story, let me tell you about Stand and Deliver. Wow. How many of you have seen Stand and Deliver? I should say, how many of you have not seen Stand and Deliver? Okay. Those of you that have not seen Stand and Deliver, watch this. How many of you saw Stand and Deliver in school? There you go. That's the single most viewed film of any film ever made in the history of film in the United States of America. It begun with The Wind like 15 years ago. Avatar, Raiders, E.T., any one of the great, Star Wars, any one of the brilliant films that people, oh my God, it made $55 billion, But in the United States of America, teachers use that film every year, just like they use certain books, and they have for years and years and years. Certain situations of teaching just become part of that. How many teachers in this room? How many of you use Stand and Deliver as a teacher's aid? There you go. Well, I'll tell you right now, those that do use that film have really grown to understand that it motivates the students, but it inspires the teacher. When you show that movie in your classroom, can you imagine being a teacher and getting that film and putting it in and letting the kids see this teacher in an inner city who comes and the story, he helps these inner city kids not do something that's possible, to do something that is impossible. These are kids that didn't know anything about anything. They were a remedial 1A class of math. They were math 1A. And, they weren't even, they had not done any algebra. They had done no geometry. They had done no, trigonometry and math analysis, and they were in high school. They had done nothing, and this guy takes them in 2 years, and he has them not only understanding math to the highest level, but taking the hardest examination given in the United States of America. Your AP Calculus test is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. How many of you took it? How many of you passed it from high school? Be honest. Yeah, you go, I got a 3. I barely made it. There you go. And you know what it took. You know what it took to do that test. And no AP English, no AP History, no AP Science, or anything could get close to AP Calculus. It's a language, and you have to be fluent in it to get past it, because it's a very difficult language to speak, but he did it. So what we learned and what was incredible was that we were telling a true story. A story about a man who comes into a school that was being, literally thrown out. And not only was it being thrown out or stopped, the school was being defunct totally, losing its accreditation as a high school, and all the kids were going to have to go someplace else. But the guy was supposed to be teaching computers, and they asked him to teach math, remedial math. And that's how the story starts, and it's the truth. That being said, this guy comes along and he helps them not only learn this, but really become fluent, and they passed. They received the highest scores in the United States in that year of 1983. They passed, and it was the biggest shot heard around the country. Inner city school kids, 18 of them, from poor families, all Latino, all of them, Latino. And then all of a sudden, 4 months after they took the test in May. You take it in May. You pass it. What happens when you take a test? As soon as you come out of the test, poof, you never want to think about any of that stuff again. So now this is May, June, July, August, they get the letter. You've been accused of cheating, and you are now, those scores have been taken away from you. And your schools that you've been, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Columbia, MIT, all those schools that they were going to go to that they had been captured, were all given letters that they had cheated. And oh my God, they were crushed. These kids were crushed. So what did they have to do? They said, okay, if you really want to do, you're going to have to do another test. And you have to take it tomorrow. This was 4 months after they got out of the classroom, after they took that test, and you got to take it tomorrow. I dare you to take a harder test in calculus after 4 months of not even thinking about it. Yeah, you'd say, not me. Well, they said the same thing, not me. But the teacher said, Jaime says, let's do it. So what does he do? You saw it in the movie. It's all in the movie. It's all true. He takes them in his classroom, and they start on page 1 of the book. With 1 day, in 24 hours, he tunes them up enough to go into there, take the examination, and pass it, and some of them with higher scores than the first time. And we all saw that, and we all started crying when we saw the scores come in and they made it. And then you find out that in 1983, 18 people passed that exam. In 1984, 37 people passed the exam. In 1985, 67 people passed that exam. In 1986, 78 people passed it. In 1987, that's when the movie came out and we finished, 87 kids had passed that examination out of his class. Boom, 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 boom. And people cheered. That movie is monumental. It's probably one of the most inspirational movies made. It cost us $1 million to make that movie, and took 5 years to make it because nobody wanted to give us a penny. So did that have an impact on society and on people and on me and on everybody? Yeah. You want to be inspired? You want to inspire your kid? Sit them down to watch Stand and Deliver. You know why? Let me just tell you why, okay? Thank you. But you want me to tell you why? Because nothing attacks a subconscious mind more than the audiovisual event. Nothing. There's not one book, one painting, one song done live, one theater piece, not one orchestra playing, not one ballet that attacks the subconscious mind as you're watching it or reading about it or listening to it as much as the audiovisual event when it's posted on the big screen with Dolby Stereo sound with no peripheral vision and you're sitting there. Why do you think I don't go see, Chainsaw Massacre 87 or Jaws 1? I don't want to go to the beach and say, oh, shit. They're in there. This is their domain. Let's go have a beer. Basically, you've got to understand that your subconscious mind never sleeps. It's woken up in the end of the first trimester and it never sleeps. It's always working, always working. When you're sleeping, it's working. It only stops working when you brain dead. So that being said, you guys got to really realize what you're feeding that brain at the back there, because it doesn't have any morals. It doesn't have any values. It just stores like a computer. It stores all this information. That being said, when you least expect it, that shit comes forward and you go, oh crap, where did I get that idea? From the subconscious mind, you idiot. It's running the whole show. You think the conscious mind that you're listening to me with right now thinks it's running the show. Ask Einstein. Einstein used 8 to 9% of his brain in consciousness. Maybe 11, they thought. Okay, I'm lucky if I'm using 5. I have dyslexia, so it might be 4.5. So that being said, can you imagine what is the rest of the brain doing? That's what we're trying to find out. Obama's trying to find out. 3 years ago, he went through a really interesting concept, and they're using it today, of trying to find out about the brain. If you want to get into that one, just go online and say Obama's mind, they're trying to find out how the brain works. So they're going into the 4th and 5th grade classes, and they're starting to monitor children and find out how they think. It's very interesting what we're going to do to each other. Technology, that's why I love Battlestar so much. Talk about Stand and Deliver and its impact. The technology that we learned about in Battlestar is being relived right now. And I can't believe what's happening. What's going to happen, I have no idea. Technology is way out of control. If I can talk to my, hello, yeah. What? Yeah, I know I'm not Dick Tracy, but I got the watch.
I just want to say,
Go
we
ahead.
had one last question real quick.
What? We only did 3.
I know.
Come on, people are just walking in. No, I know there's somebody else got to come and talk. I get it.
It flew by so quickly.
I'm sorry, I just talk too much.
No, it's awesome. It's so amazing.
Let me just say, I just want to say I'm very, very proud to be here in Hawaii, and I'm very proud of everyone that has tried to make this convention come alive. You're making it come alive. You want a convention of the highest magnitude, you're making it happen, just by participating, coming and enjoying it. That's the key. I came here to try to help motivate people to come here so that this convention and many people, because a lot of people can't get to the mainland. They can't go to, Comic-Con in San Diego, along with 500,000 other people.
This might be a little better though. This is nice. Comic-Con's
I've
a
had
little
so much
overwhelming.
fun. I sit back over there, and those of you, how many of you have come over and spoken with me? People come over and they spend a long time talking to me. As you can see, I talk, and I don't mind sitting there talking with you. You don't have to buy anything. You just come over and shake my hand and go, hi, how are you? Can I ask you a question? Sure, go right ahead. Whatever you like. God bless you all. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And thank you guys for your excellent questions.
And
Let's give it up.
remember, for all of you, okay? We have a long road to hoe. Let us do it together as one race, the human race. So say we all. So say we all. So say we all.
All right, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed the panel. Are any of y'all interested in having him back maybe next year? All right. Just to let everyone know real quick, we are going to have to close the room while we reset for the costume contest. So we'll need everyone to exit for us. We will open the doors again for the costume contest at something.
This is a great opportunity to get an autograph or picture. You know you want to.